Dominic by William Steig, 14. By the time the unrepentant criminals had made their escape, Dominic was much farther along his way, having nothing special having happened to him meanwhile. It was a moonlight night. All moonlight is magical and puts us under a spell, but some moonlight nights move our tides more than others, and even make us a little bit daffy. This was such a night. It was out of the question for Dominic to go to sleep, though it was his usual hour for retiring. He wasn't tired. The night and everything under its influence was alive, awake, and spellbound. Fireflies flickered high and low. It was not clear where the fireflies ended and the stars began. Dominic wandered into a field where he saw what appeared to be miniature Japanese lanterns. They were miniature Japanese lanterns. Mice were having a moonlight revel in a clearing surrounded by tall grass, and they had strung their prismatic lanterns between stalks of timothy. Dominic, enchanted, watched the proceedings from the top of a rock. There was delicate, stately mouse music produced by tiny zithers, lutes, and tambourines. Dominic took out his piccolo and played, softly, ever so softly. The mice heard but didn't question where the piccolo notes were coming from. They too were bewitched. They danced cotillions and polkas. Some of the ladies wore elegant gowns and feathers to adorn their lovely heads. Their jewelry, gems no bigger than poppy seeds, sparkled in the moonlight. Many of the men were tipsy on oko, a beverage made from fermented honey and acorns. The revelry grew more and more ecstatic. The music strove nearer and nearer to the elemental truth of being. All this in the moon was too much for Dominic's overflowing soul. He couldn't help himself. He raised his head and, straining toward infinity, howled out the burden of his love and longing in sounds more meaningful than words. This unexpected outburst broke the spell for the mice, and they fled in terror, leaving an empty place lighted by the moon and the tiny lanterns. Dominic was sorry he had ended the celebration. He walked in the field, smelling daisies, marigolds, black-eyed Susans, and sweet grass. He found a doll lying in the grass, and he gathered from its appearance that it had been lost some time ago. It was a likable doll, a long-eared puppy with shoe-button eyes, one of them hanging by a thread from its socket. The smell of the doll intrigued him. It had the same magical effect as the moonlight. It inspired a longing. For what? He wasn't sure. He tenderly tucked the doll away in his bandana and continued to wander about in the field. Finally, he was moved to look to the heavens and declare, "O life, I am yours. Whatever it is you want of me, I am ready to give." And again, he couldn't help howling. He howled and he howled without restraint, embarrassment, or self-consciousness. These howls had been gathering in him for a long time, and it was wonderful release to vent them in their fullness. He strayed farther into the meadow, and sure enough, considering the hypnotic quality of the moon, there was a somnambulist abroad, a sleepwalking goat in a nightcap and nightshirt roaming this way and that, forelegs extended, feeling his way through space. Dominic had heard somewhere that you mustn't wake a sleepwalker unless the situation demands it, unless he is about to walk out of an open window or into a deep pond or the fireplace or over broken glass or whatever. So he walked quietly alongside the goat, and they moved into grass over Dominic's ears, disturbing two hedgehogs who had been trysting in the moonlight and who made outcries of indignation. And then they went up a small hill and over a knoll and into a wood, the goat all the while holding his own dreamy counsel, and through some underbrush and out again into an open field, and then down a slope, and then ankle deep into a cool rill, and then over some rocks, and finally Dominic had had enough of traipsing alongside a somnambulist. He guided the goat into a tree that proved to be unyielding. "Where am I?" said the goat, with the tree in his embrace. "What am I doing here?" "You are on the planet Earth, embracing a tree in a field under a full moon," answered Dominic. "And it is as lovely a night as ever there was since time began." "And who are you?" inquired the goat. "My name is Dominic." "Who am I?" "I know this much," said Dominic. "My eyes, my ears, and my nose tell me you're a goat." Goat! Then I must be Phineas Matterhorn. I'm confused. You've been sleepwalking, said Dominic. Ah, said Phineas. I am a sleepwalker, so it must be me. I'm beginning to get my bearings now. Tell me this, am I headed in the direction of Grandville, where Barney Swain and Pearl Sweeney will be celebrating their wedding? You've been walking in every possible direction. You must have been headed that way. At times you must have been headed that way, said Dominic. When is the wedding? Tomorrow. I'm going. I dreamed I was already on my way. Let's go together, said Dominic. I've been invited too. It will be a gala event, said Phineas. I hear Barney came into a lot of money from some rich relative in the import-export business. He's really splurging on this affair. You don't say, said Dominic, musing on how news sometimes gets distorted. The Doomsdays tried to steal his money, the goat went on, but he routed the whole gang single-handed. You don't say, said Dominic. You double don't say. He brought his bride-to-be the most wonderful wedding ring for her nose, diamonds and amethysts in the size of peas. Wow, said Dominic. Wow, wow, wow. He was momentarily angry at the way the truth tends to change its shape and get more worn and more unrecognizable the more it's passed around. "Ah, well, let's go," he said, and they set out, walking slowly, enjoying the lunar light and chatting. "Use your horns much?" asked Dominic. He tried to imagine having protuberances on his own head, but it was difficult. "I guess I do," said the goat. "I don't think about it. I'm not always conscious I have horns, but I sure remember them whenever I get into a physical debate with the Doomsdays." Dominic smiled at the old goat's odd way of putting things. "What do you like best about weddings?" he asked. "I like it all," said Phineas. "The festive feeling, the food, the music, the dancing, the fancy clothes, the decorations, the gaiety. But I think I like best just being there among so many, with so much going on, being seen, feeling central, and being admired by one and all, or imagining I'm being admired by one and all, which comes to the same thing. It doesn't matter that others feel they are the center of attention. They are the life of the party. I know I am, as they know they are, and everyone's happy, and all is one, which is why parties are so wonderful." As they talked, they approached a strange, bulky shape. It moved, and they hurried toward it to see what it was. Dominic arriving first. It was a pygmy elephant sitting in the road. He was small even for a pygmy elephant. Indeed, he wasn't much bigger than Dominic. Preoccupied with whatever was on his mind, he didn't even notice the two curious animals standing at his side, casting their shadows over him. "Begging your pardon, sir," said Dominic to the stranger. "I hope you are enjoying the beauty of this rare moonstruck night." The pygmy elephant turned his head, startled. "Good evening," he said. "I'm in trouble." "Can we help you?" asked Dominic. "No, I don't think so. Maybe you can. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Mwana Bamba." "Strange name," said Phineas Matterhorn. "I come from Africa," said Mwana Bamba. "Oh," said the goat, "I'm Phineas Matterhorn, and this is my friend Dominic. What seems to be the trouble?" "You probably won't believe me," said the elephant, "but I can do magic, and thereby get anything I wish for. That is to say, I could do magic if I could only remember the magic word. If I ever remember the word, the first thing I'm going to do is wish I never forget it again. "That's clever," said Dominic. "How did you get your magic?" "You see," said the elephant, "a witch doctor, a crocodile witch doctor at home where I live, gave me this magic word. I don't know why. He said he was used to seeing big elephants, and I was so little. He said a little elephant like me needed magic to make his way in the world. Well, he gave it to me, and the first thing I did was wish myself some faraway place, any romantic faraway place, and here I am." "This rare moon must have pulled you our way," Dominic decided. "It's lovely here. You must have a very nice country," said the elephant. "It's lovely here. You have a very nice country," said the elephant. "But I want to wish myself back home in Africa, and I can't. However I try, remember the magic words." "What a pity," said Dominic. "What does it sound like?" "It sounds like jest, I think, but I don't think it begins with J." "What do you think it begins with?" A, F, G, P, or H, but I am not sure it's any one of those. It could be an I, the elephant went on to say. it could begin with any letter of the alphabet, and that it was really a simple, very common word, and maybe that's what made it hard to remember. "Aren't elephants supposed to have good memories?" asked the goat. "Yes," said Moana Bamba. "That's why I didn't write the word down on a piece of paper as I should have, or even better, have it tattooed on my leg. I committed it to memory, and my memory won't give it up." "Well," said Dominic, pacing about, his paws behind his back, "what we have to do is go through all the words we know, and if it's a simple word, as you say, we'll get it sooner or later. It probably starts with some letter in the alphabet, so let's not be fools and begin with A. Let's begin with Z and go backwards. Is it xylophone?" "Xylophone starts with an X," said the goat. "Is it zebra?" asked Dominic. "No," said the elephant. "Is it zero?" "No." "Zigzag?" "No." There were a few more Z's. "All right. Y," said the goat. "How about yogurt?" "No," said the elephant. "How about yearling, yearning, yesterday, yak, yellow yolk?" "No," said the elephant. "Let's do this as we walk," said Dominic. "Come with us to the wedding of the Boers, Barney and Pearl. They'll surely welcome any friend of ours. Somewhere along the line, we'll discover your word." Excuse me. Somewhere along the line, we'll discover your word because we're proceeding in an intelligent manner and are therefore bound to meet with success. Cheer up, we'll find the magic word for you. Heartened by these reassurances, the elephant got off the ground, and they walked along at a leisurely pace, testing various words. When they had gone through X, W, V, U, T, R, S, Q, and P, they arrived at a place where some odd goings-on were in progress. They were looking down into a dell in which a woodchuck, a beaver, a raccoon, and a porcupine were performing a strange ritual. The woodchuck, the beaver, the raccoon, and the porcupine salaamed to the moon and salaamed to each other, and they walked slowly in a circle, bowing to the north, to the east, to the south, and to the west. Then they lay down on the ground and rolled 3 times clockwise and 3 times counterclockwise. After that, the porcupine sprinkled the woodchuck, the raccoon, and the beaver with coconut oil. Next, the raccoon threw sesame seeds at the porcupine, the woodchuck, and the beaver, whereupon the beaver read some words out of a big book, and all 4 kissed the book. The woodchuck then put on a tall hat covered with emblems and touched each of the others with a willow wand. Once more, and solemnly, they walked around in a circle. It was very impressive and mysterious, and Dominic, Phineas, and Moana never found out what it all meant, because the woodchuck, the beaver, the raccoon, and the porcupine belonged to a secret society that never let out its secrets. They knew what they were doing, just as you and I know what we're doing when we do the things we do, and that's all that matters. Dominic, Phineas, Moana, and Moana continued on their way to the wedding. "How about olive?" asked Dominic. "Oriole, oboe, obelisk, oomph, overcoat, ottoman, orchids, orchard, open, ocelot, oodles, oink, ointment only." "None of those," said Moana. There was a dimming of the light. The moon had crossed most of the sky and was near the horizon preparing to set. "Orlock, obligado, oset, October, odor, onyx, opossum, oxygen, oak," said Phineas. The elephant looked hopeless. "We'll get it," said Dominic. "How about noodles? How about nose? Nostrum, nobody, nick, nix, nip, knot, nut, knit, net, Nagasaki." "No," said the elephant. By the time they had gone through the letter A, mentioning every word they could think of, they had reached the outskirts of Grandville, and it was morning. They lay down in a field of newly cut hay and slept a long, refreshing sleep from 5 a.m. till noon. Now a big, ripe sun floated in a wide open sky, a beautiful day for a wedding. Dominic, Moana, and Phineas bathed in a nearby brook. Moana, using his trunk as a hose, sprayed the others and himself, and they all felt freshened. They had nothing to eat but grass. It was just as well. They knew they would soon dine regally. And that's the end of chapter 14.